be a public hearing. The issues on the public hearing to be discussed tonight will be the signing of a variance or an asking for a variance to the Sharpsburg Baptist Church for a sign. Second one would be a building code amendment, and the third would be of the authorization to continue the loan that we renew each year on the property behind us, the parking lot. So the first thing that will be on the agenda is the sign variance for the Sharpsburg Baptist Church. And council, in your packet, the first five pages are pulled from the sign ordinance and highlighted the parts that specifically refer to what we're talking about tonight. So what they're asking is to have an internally lit cabinet, a height variance, and preferably a reduction or a waiver of the fee for the sign. So at this time, those that would like to speak in favor and against the sign, if you would stand, if you would like to come to the podium, state your name, whether you're for or against, and then state any facts that you would like.
My name's Wallace, and I am the pastor of Sharpsburg Baptist to speak for. And I had a few points, and one I may be incorrect on, but I'll ask that when I get there. A few general things about the church come to this point is after months of studying dozens of renderings from 3 church sign companies, our church family has enthusiastically given their support to the design that you guys have before you. It offers us the opportunity to share the good news about our Lord, as well as our church events to enrich the lives of our community and people who happen to go by in a tasteful way. If approved, we'd be happy to message about significant town events as it is proper for a church. This would give town events a much improved opportunity to inform and invite people to activities that help the town grow and enhance the overall image of this community. About the internally lit cabinet, and I'm just going to address the areas I understand we had a variance on. The internal lit cabinet, as you see in the picture, it's a soft, even, non-glaring glow that will not be distracting to drivers. Lighting will not shine in the eyes of drivers or neighbors since it's all internal. It gives a clean and a crisp look and avoids overly bright but also overly dim areas on the sign surface, again allowing for just a simple pass-by recognition. Then related to now this is the one I don't think you mentioned later, but the electronic LED messaging part that's about the middle part, that's on the variance, I think, I hope.
It wasn't so stated, sir, but that's all right if you would go ahead and give us that part.
Okay, well it's a non-scrolling messaging center that's controlled inside the church via a computer program. The message is easier for drivers to see and process without the need for a second look. And it's full color because it makes it easier on the eyes than a monochrome and much less glaring. It's also easier to see than the sliding out message that we have over there now. Allows for crisp, clean, and clear lettering, again leading to less potential distraction. The size is designed for easy reading at posted speed limits, and it was designed specifically for this miles per hour zone here. And will allow for time and temperature display, which will be a bonus for the towns, as we don't have anything else here that has that. And then both the cabinet and LED sign can be placed on sleep mode via the computer inside and changed with the day, nighttime hours during the year. And the final thing was the height. The listed height placed the sign at approximately eye level for passing motorists, thus again minimizing the need for a second look or for them to have to pause if they're interested in whatever's on the sign. But that can be corrected by, if you'll notice the base is a prefab kind of brick, and the reason it's the size that it is, which is what puts the height of the sign over what's inside the regulations, is because that's the same height and design with the lip that's around the base of the building now. And even the color would be as close as they could match it based on pictures we've sent them. But that could be, if the issue were the height of the sign, taking out enough rows of brick or even removing the brick altogether would bring it within and under, I think, the height limit for the town. And other than anything you may have to ask of me, that's all I really have.
If you would, any questions, Pastor?
Did you say non-scrolling? Did I hear you say it? So you won't have a message that, like you said, distracting to the driver?
See, because one thing, even in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, you can't read anything that's scrolling. It'd have to be huge. Secondly, the more effective and tasteful way to do it is to say, Merry Christmas, and stay there.
Just leave it.
And then when it changes, like, let's say to Christmas cantata, it's not scrolling or flashing or reindeers dancing or any kind of thing like that. It's just a message. Now, it can be done with that program because they market this to businesses and everything else. But we would limit ourselves to non-scrolling, like not, having like Merry Christmas scroll across or any type of animation or characterization on it. Or it'd say, and it would just say, church cantata, December whatever, 7 o'clock, whatever the things are. And it would also eliminate our need to have any kind of vinyl signs like Vacation Bible School or Chicken Q or Community Awareness Day, whatever it is we might be doing. All that be done on one simple messaging center that we control from inside. But its main purpose, according to the people that designed this, is to be non-scrolling.
Questions? Questions? Thank you, Wallace.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anybody else that would like to speak for or against?
Can I say something without getting up because it messes up my picture? I live directly where I can see it, and I think it's a great idea. I love the temperature part, and I think the thing with events would be wonderful. We sure do need it.
Good. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else like to speak for or against? Okay. We will move on to the next item. Public hearing is the Building and Construction Code Amendment. Same principle. If you'd like to speak for or against, get up, state your name, and whether you are for or against. Anybody?
Yeah. This is the, is this the second reading?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was just curious as to what, first off, how is the public made aware of this amendment or change? What's the process to let the public know what you're doing?
Well, this is back when all the ordinances reference to, well, every ordinance that we have at that time, reference to building was put in, and you see a list of 8 there ahead of it. This one at that time was not available. And we kind of...
I'm not asking that. I'm asking how do you, when you come up with, we're going to have an ordinance for purple flowers over here, and how do you let the public know? How do we, it's a public, forum that we're here now, but the first reading, it was not mentioned. I never heard a word about it. It just appeared, and then when we asked for clarification, nobody would clarify, nobody would speak on it, and you just said after the meeting we'll give you the papers that we're talking about. And I don't understand how, that process works, and I want to be educated on that first right now.
Well, first off, obviously, if the public comes to the meetings, they can hear what's going on. But we don't publish every ordinance in any way or make the public aware of it in any way.
Why not?
We do publish the ordinances, we
Right.
don't publish, like you're talking about when we're making a change like that.
Right.
I mean, is it in the paper and I just missed it? I mean, I live in Columbus, so that's
We have a stack of ordinances, as you are aware, you are very familiar with our ordinances. We don't bring all of those before the public and say, all right, this is a list of all.
I'm talking about amendments to whatever you're doing. This is something new, okay? And you bringing it before council, and nobody in the public has any clue as to what it is, and you vote on it for the first reading, and still nobody is allowed to know what it is until the second reading, and you still haven't notified these fine people what it's all about. I understand, but I want to know the process, and I want to know how the public, is involved in this, because it affects the public.
First off, it was published in the paper that it would be on the public hearing tonight. They had the right to be here just like you and everyone else. I can't get them by the hand and pull them in here. Sorry.
But the first time, was it advertised in the paper, or did I miss that, or where is it that you say, this is what we're doing, this is the change, and we're gonna have a public forum for you to discuss it? I dare say nobody in the audience has any clue as to what it is, and if you ask them, you just ask them for discussion, nobody knows what it is.
All right, then I will tell you what it is. All the other ordinances that were in place were primarily for new construction. This ordinance is existing properties, houses, businesses, existing property maintenance. So before, and it came as a result of something that you brought up and were doing, that we would realize that we didn't have anything that covered existing properties. The property maintenance code was there, but we never had adopted it. So that's what we're doing.
So all this time, we've been going round and round, and you've been quoting the property maintenance code all over and over. That's been irrelevant to our discussion, or
We were
what?
quoting the International Building Code, International Plumbing Code, all of those you see up there.
And you sent me emails, and Donna, on the property maintenance code as well, and we got videos, thanks to Miss Polly, of y'all quoting those codes, and now you're telling me they never were adopted in the first place?
That's right, that's what we're doing right now.
So all that we went round and round, I've been doing this for a year now, and we're just now realizing that none of that really is relevant.
What was relevant at the time was the International Building Code and Plumbing Code. That was what was quoted to you over and over and over again. And then you came up with the stipulation or clause that we had overlooked all that time.
Which is what?
The historic building.
Okay?
We had overlooked that. We found it. When you appealed it, you brought it to the attention of the appeal board. They approved it, and your building is open.
Okay.
So now, we're introducing and putting in the property maintenance code, and do you have anything to say against it, sir? Or for it?
I think what you're doing is wrong. I think it's unethical. I think it's shows a lack of a lot of things that I can't say right now. But I think many times you and Clay have said, Joe, let's find some way that we can make this work within the law and then within the regulations, okay? I did that, and I took it to the appeal process. I did everything by y'all's book, by every step of the way, okay? And you said, you know what? Okay, that's good. These buildings are historic. These buildings do not, or this one building that we did the appeal on is historic. Yes, you've proven that, Joe, and yes, by Georgia code, international building codes, yes. You don't have to follow the letter of the law if that's unreasonable, okay? We did that, and then, excuse me, I have not finished my thought. So going forward with the historic nature, okay, on that one building, all right, what good does it do to undo that? Because I don't think these people realize also what you're doing is you're going back and you're taking that out. You're taking that historic thing out of the codes now. You're saying that's irrelevant. And you've told me at the last meeting that no, you can't do anything with those other buildings. Just because we approved it on one, you have to go through this same 6-month process.
No.
Yes, you did.
I said you had to file for a business license for those buildings individually, just like the first one. And that has to be ruled on at that time on that building. That's what I said.
That's what you said.
Yeah, right.
I asked you, I said, since we know this building has done this, and all the work that I did, all the engineering, the soil, the environmental health, I asked them, I said, these are 6 buildings right here. These are 6 lots. 7 actually, there's 1 vacant. I said, tell me how I can make this work with the city requiring me to put a bathroom in here. The city does not provide any sewer, okay? There's not enough room for septic tank. So how am I to do this? Am I right? And they said, yes, sir, you're right. The soil works, but you don't have enough property to put a septic tank in and run drain lines. It is physically impossible. It is infeasible to do that.
Mr. Bridges, all that is immaterial to what we've got on the books tonight. Now.
This is
you
a
had-
public
you
forum
had
to educate the
public
public
forum.
because you're not willing to do that. And
You
you're not
have a
willing to.
maximum of 10 minutes, and I think.
Where's that written? Where's that written?
I think it's 5.
You really hadn't answered any of my questions. I've had to sort of press you on several things just to try to get an answer. Because the question is, why are you making this change? What is it that is making you do this? Has there been a public outcry that says the historic nature of those buildings, that's wrong. That's against the law, and that's wrong. We've got to fix that. And you being the mayor and the council are going to fix that. Is that the case? Or tell me and tell these people in the public what it is that you're doing.
You brought it to our attention.
Can I say something?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Joe, you know, I'd like to see those buildings open, and you keep addressing the historic nature of them. The letter I saw back from the historical person that says what's going to be a historic building or not, or which it qualifies or doesn't qualify, or has the ability to go. The letter I saw back from her said that just by nature of being classified or being able to be a historic building in no way allows them to be exempt from any existing public safety or code that's already on the books. You know, that wasn't what I wanted to hear, but that's what I saw back from her. And so I don't see by being,
Who is
whether
her?
it is a historic building or just has potential to be, I never saw how
Who
that
is
would
her?
give them a right to say you can operate without a variance.
Who is her?
The,
Lady from the Historical Society.
yeah.
Yeah, who is that? Who is
I
her?
mean, here, but if you would
We
like to.
got
I have it.
I mean, we had the letter, you
Okay,
can.
so
see
I
it.
presented y'all with all that information, okay, for the appeal
Yes,
process,
you did.
okay? And your very talented, educated clerk, who you designate as a building inspector code, or whatever you want to do, she went through the process for you, okay? Y'all have always said, we have experts. We don't, you know, we rely on experts, okay? You did that. That's your procedure. That's your process. And she came back and said, yeah, you can use that building. It's good to go. You're not aware of that?
What?
We talked about that at 2 meetings ago.
That building, right, you're exactly right. You did win that appeal.
So how is it different for any of the other 6 buildings?
We're not going to discuss those at this time. You put in an application for a business license, and we will discuss each building. Now, here, come here, I'll show you something. You want to see it in writing and watch in 10 minutes?
That's great, but how is it, you know, you still haven't said how it's going to the public. You basically said you're not going to send
It's
it out to
going
the
to the
public.
public right here.
You're just going to
tonight.
vote on it, and then however it affects these people, the citizens.
That's what we
just-
were elected to do, Joe, and that's what we're doing. Now, please,
I think
if
you
you
need to
would,
listen to your
if you would,
constituents
please,
and your
sir.
taxpayers as well.
your time is up. Would you please sit down?
You haven't
Would you-
answered any of my questions.
If you have any more questions that you need answers, you know where my.
Why are you making the change? That's my biggest question.
Because you brought it to our attention that we didn't have the International Maintenance Code. You did-
That's not the rationale. What's the business rationale? What's the rationale for the good of the public, for the good of the town? That's what you're entrusted to do, is to protect and serve the town, the taxpayers, and the residents. Is that not what your job is?
Exactly.
Okay, so
Now,
how does that, taking historic out of the picture, how does that now serve the best interests of the community?
We've been there.
Economic interest?
You and I have been there over and over, and we're not discussing that tonight in this. Please sit down, sir. Anybody else who would like to speak for or against? Moving on to the next piece of business is the authorization to borrow the funds or to renew the loan on the property behind us. The process has been that we renew the loan and reduce the principal each year, but we have to have the permission of the council to renew that loan. Anybody would like to speak for or against?
I like to speak. What
To
is the
On this
loan?
topic,
Sir?
on this topic.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What's the loan for? What's the money for? I'm trying to get educated because I don't ever see anything anywhere else.
We bought the property right here in back of us that we use for an overflow parking lot. And we also bought, that was inclusive of the property where the
Glen Neely's.
landscape property is now. So because of the way that our regulations are written, we can't do a long-term loan. So just like any other piece of property we buy it on a loan and renew it once a year, has to be running up for renewal. We reduce the principal and carry the balance.
So the town doesn't have any money to buy it outright? What's the purpose in borrowing the money?
Why would we do that? It's just not, it's not good business, sir.
You get taxpayers' money via SPOSS and LOSS, and you have, there's money for those types of things.
Right, but the way we're doing it now, the tenant that's up there now is actually making the payments for us, and we're not having to disturb the money that we need to do other things, such as the park.
And how far along is that?
Right now, it has gone from the surveyors to the engineers. They look at it now, we discuss it, then we go to the county, so we're far along.
Well, what's been going on with the SPOSS money since the sidewalks? I don't think, you should
We
have,
still have,
you still have plenty of money, correct?
we have
So you
money.
could essentially
We have-
save
We have
interest,
money.
interest on that. That would be a better use of taxpayers' money, would it not?
No, sir.
No, wouldn't?
That's council decision, and the council says no.
Yeah, I understand.
Anybody
I'm
else?
against, by the way.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, if nothing else in public hearing, then a motion to adjourn the public hearing would be in effect.
Motion.
Motion adjourned, second, all in favor? Now we will go into the regular meeting, and